While we are currently in the 8th generation of consoles, with all the sexy 3D graphics that it presents, there are a lot of us that are still suckers for nostalgia. It's evident with games like Shovel Knight that 8-bit and 16-bit style games are still incredibly fun and rather popular. But while we've seen plenty that look as though they've been plucked right from the NES, SNES or the Sega Mega Drive, we haven't really seen any in the style of a good old classic ZX Spectrum game, or the Specky as it was affectionately dubbed here in the UK. Well, that is no longer the case. This is Rock Boshers DX for the PlayStation 4 and Vita, an indie title created to look, sound and play like a Spectrum title, and it even includes the insane laser light show of a loading screen. The authenticity here is fantastic, but is the game actually any good? Well, the short answer is yes. Goodbye. The story takes place in a steampunk version of Victorian London. Humanity has recently travelled to Mars and begun colonising and adventuring. Yes, you heard me right. And what do we use for travel? Well, we ride in a giant bullet fired out of an enormous cannon. But it gets better. We play as young Queen Victoria. We play as Queen Victoria. This Victoria. To say the game doesn't take itself seriously is an understatement, and there's just enough humour so that it remains funny without being too goofy. For example, to get aboard the shuttle, Victoria dons a pair of trousers and a top hat. Works for me. Now, the flight to Mars introduces us to 3 pickups that are strewn throughout each level. A cup of tea, cheese and a jam scone, because this is Britain after all. These items act as collectibles and work towards gaining 100% completion on each level. However, you will also need to beat the best time score. Now, like most games in the genre, this is typically difficult to best on your first playthrough. The game itself is a twin-stick shooter. Your default weapon has unlimited ammunition with an average rate of fire, but you can pick up additional weapons throughout the stages, from a machine gun, a coal rocket launcher, and a good old laser gun. You can scroll through these additional weapons by hitting either the R1 or L1 buttons. However, unlike the default pistol, these 3 weapons have limited ammunition, but don't let that hold you back from using them because you just lose them at the end of each stage anyway. Now, there are also some simple puzzles that need solving. These usually involve destroying terminals that either turn off turrets or open doors, with colored keys also placed throughout some stages. Each level ends when you finally reach an elevator that literally takes you up to the next level. The first area mainly acts as a tutorial introducing the different enemy types, turrets, keys and weapons. The game manages to do this in a way that never feels forced, and despite its simplicity, the new gameplay elements are introduced in a very organic way. This is possibly assisted by the fact that the new gameplay types and levels are spread out just far enough. For example, 2 levels will introduce you to zombies, because it's a modern game, and every modern game needs fucking zombies. A few more levels later we have some creatures from Mars itself, like this thing, which I didn't notice and was almost cornered by. Speaking of death, there are also auto turrets that either hail down gunfire upon you or send heat-seeking missiles hurtling towards you. These are actually sometimes used to solve puzzles as well, which kind of ups the difficulty slightly. So it certainly has the old school difficulty nailed down. However, you do start each stage with 5 hit points in the form of hearts. Like the collectibles, there are also various health pickups throughout each stage. On your travels, you also encounter friendly NPCs such as other labourers, slaves. These workers eventually fight back against the guards and revolt, although it goes south rather quickly when a tank turns the corner and kind of flattens them. A tank which you eventually control later, and this is incredibly satisfying. Unfortunately, it only lasts for about 2 levels before the thing runs out of juice, but it's another fun inclusion. Oh, and Charles Darwin is also here. No, you heard me correctly. Charles Darwin is on Mars. That may have catapulted this game into being the best thing in the history of the world. The game also contains 4 arcade-style-like games. These can only be unlocked through collecting the prerequisite number of tea, cheese and scones strewn throughout the levels. Like the main game, the humour is still present, presenting some over-the-top and highly amusing scenarios. For example, there's one arcade game where you play as Queen Victoria's cat, travelling to an alternate reality and protecting a deep-sea milk drilling platform. Tikipod have done a fantastic job in creating an experience that would feel right at home on the ZX Spectrum. The graphics are charmingly simplistic, even going so far as to have the colours overlapping one another, something I remember quite fondly from many games on the machine. The soundtrack is also very well put together and sounds authentic for the era. In short, this is a wonderfully well put together love letter to a simpler era of gaming. There's plenty replayability in form of 4-player combat, battle arena, arcade unlockables, collectibles, and time trials. It's currently sat at a very modest price of £4.49 and is a cross-purchase for the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation Vita. It's well worth the price tag, and if you're a fan of the ZX Spectrum, I can't recommend it enough. If you're not completely sold on this, try out the original using the link provided in the video description. Well, that's all from me. Hopefully you'll be seeing a lot more of me in this year. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing remains to be seen, really. See you later.